What's good, everyone? Jets take off. It was a bad loss against the Ravens, and I want to talk about my biggest problem in that entire game that really concerns me. And what would that problem be? That problem would be the offensive line in pass protection. This game against the Ravens was a nightmare, and we are facing the Cleveland Browns in Week 2 and then the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 3, and the Steelers always have the most sacks as a team total every single year. So this problem has got to get addressed. Let me read out how bad it was versus the Baltimore Ravens. Out of offensive tackles, out of 61 total, Max Mitchell was ranked 26th in pass block win rate, and George Fant was rated 43rd overall. But Max Mitchell gave up 8 pressures, and George Fant gave up 6 pressures. That's 14 combined from our tackles. Keep in mind who our quarterback is. We have Joe Flacco, who is an immobile statue. Listen, if he's a clean pocket, he might be able to do some great things, but it doesn't matter what he can do if there's a clean pocket. When there is not a clean pocket, this offensive line is supposed to be very good in pass protection. Now, I can understand an excuse from George Fant being that he was playing right tackle and then they switched him midway through the week back to left tackle, so that kind of lies on the coaching staff, but also his own performance. But it gets worse. Offensive guards. Elijah Vera Tucker was ranked 28th out of 61, which is solid, but he gave up 6 pressures. I thought he played pretty well, but once I saw the pressures, I was very surprised. Now, Laken Tomlinson was 51st out of 61 offensive guards. That is unacceptable. We are paying Laken Tomlinson big money. I was not a fan of him. I was not a fan of the signing to begin with. He was not one of my top-rated guys, but this is unacceptable. In his first ever game, he was getting manhandled and babied around. It's inexcusable. He has continuity in this offensive system. He has been in the league for many years against a Ravens defensive line that's pretty young, minus Calais Campbell and Justin Houston. And for him to give up 7 pressures and only have an 84.2 win percentage in pass blocking is terrible. 51st out of 61st for a guy that we're paying on average around $14 million a year. That cannot happen. He has got to clean it up. That might have been my biggest disappointment. While watching the game, I could see Tomlinson getting manhandled and bullied around. He was probably my biggest disappointment from Sunday's loss. I guess after the offense as a whole. So he's got to step it up. Connor McGovern, 4 pressures, 16th out of 30th for centers in the league. So combined, our entire offensive line gave up 31 pressures. 31 pressures against the Baltimore Ravens, who barely blitzed in this game. That has got to change immediately, whether it's having our tight ends help chip players, helping out the tackles by chipping them, whether it's having them stand back in pass protection, whether it's having better running backs come out in pass protection. We have got to help this problem, especially with Joe Flacco as quarterback, because he cannot move at all. If we put in Mike White or Chris Streveler, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe they have some more mobility to where they can at least kind of mitigate some of these issues from the offensive front. But right now, it's unacceptable. It's got to get better, because we're playing the Cleveland Browns and then the Cincinnati Bengals and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are all great teams with great pass rushes, so we cannot afford to clown around anymore. This was advertised as the strong suit of the Jets team alongside the defensive front is the offensive line. Joe Douglas prides himself in building the offensive line. This has got to make him feel sick to his stomach, and it lies on the players themselves and the coaching staff like Mike LaFleur and our offensive line coach to go figure this out. Because while this offensive line was pretty solid in the run game, I'll give them that. They were good at running the football. This has got to improve in pass protection. Zach Wilson is coming off not a pretty big injury, but a setback in his career. So if we throw him in there and this offensive line is still garbage, it's just asking for him to get hurt even more, and then we'll end the season still with questions about Zach Wilson. But this team is really supposed to be going in the right direction. Once I saw these statistics from Rich Cimini on Twitter, they have terrified me. So it has got to get better, because we're playing Myles Garrett this upcoming week and Jadeveon Clowney. And the Browns, they have a very talented defense around them. While their maybe interior side of the defensive front isn't the best, They have Denzel Ward. They have Greg Newsome in the secondary, John Johnson. So if our wide receivers are not getting open for a little bit of time, the offensive line has got to hold up in pass protection. I'm looking at Laken Tomlinson. He is the number one guy that has to step it up. It is inexcusable with the amount of money he is getting paid. It just can't happen again. Max Mitchell, I can kind of understand. It's his first NFL start. He played fair given the circumstances. But with Laken Tomlinson, that cannot happen. With Elijah Vera Tucker, even though he wasn't terrible, he still gave up 6 pressures. That cannot happen. Connor McGovern, he played probably the best out of them all. So he's the only one that kind of gets a pass. George Fant's he's got to step it up too. This is a contract year. He's got to deal with some tough adversity in bad circumstances. Even if he's learning very late in the week that he's going to be playing the other side of the tackle position than he thought he was, you still got to show up. You cannot be lazy and goofing around and having guys just run right through you. It cannot happen. So that was my biggest concern from our loss to the Ravens. Let me know what you all think. What do you think about the offensive line? Who's got to step it up? Am I being a little bit of an overreactionist? I don't think so, but if so, let me know. And thank you. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.